He's informed the necessary Bucks officials that he believes the time has come now for both of these sides.
How confident are you you'll finish the season with the Bucks?
I don't know. Let's get into the weeds here. This is a double-barreled approach. The Miami Heat have effectively placed themselves at the epicenter of two distinct blockbuster negotiations, one for a two-time MVP and another for a two-time All-Star guard. Both superstars have indicated they want a change of scenery. Reportedly, the Heat are trying to land Giannis and Ja while keeping Bam Adebayo and Norman Powell off the table. Remember, Giannis has given 13 years of service to Milwaukee. He delivered a title in 2021, ending a 50-year drought. But now, he's stuck on a roster sitting 9 games under 500, trapped as the 12th seed in the East with absolutely zero upward mobility or cap flexibility.
To put it plainly, he has communicated with the Bucks. He's informed the necessary Bucks officials that he believes the time has come now for both of these sides, him and the Bucks, to move on after 13 years, after he led this team, this organization, to its first championship in 50 years in 2021.
They gave the Greek Freak one last opportunity to build a legacy in Milwaukee, and it fell flat. The squad simply can't compete. Giannis isn't interested in a gap year or a rebuild. He wants to chase ring number 2 right now. Meanwhile, Ja Morant is dealing with a totally different beast in Memphis. The Grizzlies have hit the reset button completely. Dealing Jaren Jackson Jr. to Utah was the shockwave that signaled a complete demolition job in Memphis. Morant is locked in for 2 more years after this season, giving the Grizzlies all the leverage. They have team control. They can keep him, or they can ship him out. The ball is in Memphis's court, not Ja's. Shaq, the open for business sign, is officially up for Morant.
Shaq, the Grizzlies are wide open for business on Ja Morant. There are multiple teams there with interest.
Memphis is going to send him to whoever offers the biggest haul. His wish list is secondary to draft assets. The Heat are working both angles, viewing Giannis as the big fish and Morant as the contingency plan. If they strike out on the 2-time MVP, they pivot immediately to the explosive guard. But the rumors say Miami is getting greedy. They want both. The catch? The whole strategy relies on keeping Adebayo and Powell, with Bam carrying a $52 million cap hit next year. Powell is dropping anywhere from 21.8 to 24 points a night this season. He's playing at a borderline all-star level. Miami sees those two as non-negotiable pillars for a title run alongside any new stars. Moving them would defeat the whole purpose of the trade. So, the Heat have to get creative. The pitch revolves around expiring deals and young prospects. For Giannis, the package highlights Tyler Herro, Terry Rozier, Kelaware, Nikola Jovic, and a boatload of first-rounders. We're talking picks in 2029, a swap in 2030, and 2031. Some variations throw in Jaime Jaquez Jr. or Simone Fontecchio to make the money work. One mock scenario even has Miami absorbing Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis in a mega deal. The offer for Morant is significantly lighter. Miami is dangling the expiring contracts of Rozier and Fontecchio with very little draft capital attached. Honestly, the market for Ja is being described as surprisingly soft. Between his off-court history and a down year, league-wide interest has cooled. That actually plays right into Miami's hands. If the bidding war is quiet, they might snag him at a discount. But snagging both without moving Bam or Powell, that's the million-dollar question. Let's dig a little deeper into the Giannis sweepstakes. He is hands down the most valuable asset on the trade block. Every contender wants him, and every rebuilding team wants the haul he would command. The Bucks hold the cards here because Giannis has a year and a half left on his deal. That guarantees 2 postseason runs for the buyer, which gives Milwaukee serious leverage. A ton of teams are sitting on their hands, waiting to see how this domino falls.
A lot of teams are holding off on their trade moves to see what happens with you, Giannis. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, can't control that. Then I can't control what the other teams do, man. I just try to focus on my job, which is go out there, compete, and try to win games.
The whole NBA is paralyzed waiting on Milwaukee. General managers have hit pause on their own deals because they need to know if the Greek Freak is actually available and what the price tag looks like.
How confident are you you'll finish the season with the Bucks?
I don't know. I take it day by day.
I don't know 3 words that carry a ton of weight. He couldn't promise he'd be there in April. He offered 0 guarantees. That uncertainty is infecting every trade conversation across the league. Reports suggest the Bucks are zeroing in on the Heat and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Vegas has already shifted the odds in Miami's favor. They've emerged as a legitimate threat to land the MVP. even though there's skepticism about whether Miami's assets can outbid the field. Reports say Giannis views South Beach as his top choice for the long haul. The city is a major draw for him. He likes the big market energy. He likes the championship pedigree. Heat culture isn't just a slogan. Players go there, get pushed, get better, and compete for rings. Giannis respects that, but wanting it doesn't make it real. Milwaukee is demanding a massive draft haul. Word is the Bucks have already countered Miami, demanding way more picks than initially offered. Miami is offering youth, but Milwaukee wants futures. They're asking for first-rounders that convey in 2030 and 2032, plus swap rights in 2026, 29, and 31. They want a proper rebuild, not just warm bodies.
Minnesota's offer, they have to kind of put it together. Okay. Miami has an offer that they could take. I think Golden State's offer is better because the unprotected picks post Steph, I value more.
The Warriors are the biggest threat here. They can offer unprotected picks for the era after Curry retires. Those assets are gold because everyone expects Golden State to fall off a cliff once Steph hangs it up. Miami's picks are less attractive because Pat Riley's teams rarely tank. Late draft picks don't move the needle as much. However, ESPN analysts think Miami could still win this if Giannis forces his way to Florida. Star power dictates these moves. Milwaukee wants the best return, sure, but they can't ignore the player's destination preference completely. If Giannis won't commit to re-signing, the acquiring team's offer drops significantly. Nobody wants to trade the farm for a rental. The clock is ticking, and Brian Windhorst laid out the stakes perfectly. Midnight is effectively the real deadline. These massive trades take time. You need lawyers reviewing language, capologists checking the CBA, and potentially third teams facilitating. That stuff takes hours to process. If Milwaukee doesn't have a framework by midnight, this likely gets kicked to the summer. The Heat are currently scrambling to find a third or fourth partner to sweeten the pot. More teams allow for more financial gymnastics. Miami could route assets through a third party to generate extra picks or flip contracts to make the salaries match. They need to construct a deal that satisfies Milwaukee without giving up the guys they refuse to trade. Social media is buzzing with real-time rumors, everything from spotting Giannis at Miami International to claims that a three-team deal is practically done. It's standard trade deadline chaos. Most of it is noise, but the sheer volume suggests there's fire behind the smoke. Conversely, some insiders claim the Bucks told Miami they're out of the running, forcing the Heat to look elsewhere. The information war is in full swing. One minute Miami is the frontrunner, the next they're out. The truth is likely in the middle. Milwaukee is keeping everyone engaged to drive the price up. That confusion is a negotiating tactic. CBS Sports argues that despite the noise, Miami is the perfect basketball fit, beating out the veteran-heavy packages from New York. The Knicks, Warriors, and Wolves are all circling. Every offer has pros and cons. Miami brings young talent and a winning culture but lacks draft capital. The other teams have the picks but maybe not the perfect fit. Giannis left the door wide open with his own comments. He said he wants to be a Buck for life, but only if that means winning titles. If Milwaukee can't deliver a ring, he's gone. And let's be real, this roster can't deliver a championship. The logic is simple. The writing is on the wall. Giannis wants out. He simply wants the franchise to initiate the breakup, ensuring history remembers him as the loyal soldier. He gave Milwaukee everything he had. He delivered a ring. Now, the organization needs to set him free to chase more. Ja Morant serves as Miami's plan B, but calling him a backup option undersells his talent. We are talking about a two-time All-Star guard with explosive athleticism, a highlight reel unmatched by anyone, and elite playmaking skills. However, his market value has cratered. The off-court drama has scared teams off, and a rough season has raised questions about his future. That fear creates a perfect opening for the Heat, especially since the Grizzlies are stripping it all down. Sending Jaren Jackson Jr. to Utah was the white flag of complete capitulation. Memphis isn't trying to win games anymore. They are hoarding assets and positioning themselves entirely for the future. Morant doesn't fit that rebuilding timeline. He is in his prime and wants to compete for titles while Memphis is hunting for draft picks. The problem is, the Grizzlies aren't interested in doing Ja any favors regarding his landing spot. They will ship him to whoever offers the best return. His desire to play in Miami or Minnesota means zero to the front office. Unlike teams that accommodate their stars, the Grizzlies are prioritizing assets over relationships. Miami has been circling Morant for months, betting that Heat culture can offer him a fresh start despite the baggage. This organization has a history of rehabilitating talented players with question marks and turning them into winners. The front office believes they can replicate that success with Morant. They see the upside. They see the potential. They see a superstar who just needs the right structure to thrive. That said, Miami isn't willing to empty the clip for him. They are aiming for a bargain bin deal, similar to the Trae Young trade context, wanting Morant on the cheap by using his tanked market value as leverage. Their gamble is that Memphis will eventually fold because no one else is bidding, but the contract complicates things. Morant isn't on an expiring deal, so he can't force his way out. He has 2 years left, giving Memphis the power. They can easily hold him past the deadline, wait for the summer, or demand way more than Miami is offering. Right now, the market for Morant is shockingly quiet because his off-court reputation has become radioactive. On top of that, his inconsistent performance this season is raising eyebrows. Teams are wondering if they are trading for the all-star version or the struggling version. That uncertainty drives the price down across the league. The potential packages from the Heat revolve around expiring contracts like Rozier and Fontecchio with barely any draft capital attached. Miami refuses to mortgage their future for him. They view this strictly as a buy low opportunity. If they overpay, they lose the edge that this depressed market offers. The whole appeal is getting a star for pennies on the dollar. If the Antetokounmpo talks fall apart, Miami could pivot hard to Morant, or even try to land both without moving Bam Adebayo or Norman Powell. That is the dream scenario. You get both superstars, keep the core intact, and walk out of the deadline as the most improved team in the East. The Jaren Jackson Jr. trade opened up new lanes for Memphis. The Grizzlies can now eat bad salaries from other teams in exchange for picks. That financial flexibility changes the math on a Morant deal. Memphis could absorb unwanted money if teams sweeten the pot. This creates trade structures that didn't exist before the Jackson deal. It reinforces the rumors linking him to Miami, with reports of internal discussions and Morant's camp pushing hard for South Beach. Social media is absolutely buzzing during deadline week. Insiders are dropping hints, and aggregators are amplifying every rumor. The sheer volume of chatter suggests there are real conversations happening behind closed doors. There is some skepticism, though. ESPN noted a Heat pursuit is unlikely because they are prioritizing cap space for 2028. Miami has to think about the long-term money, and adding Morant might wreck those future plans. The Heat are balancing immediate improvement against future flexibility. Then you have reports that Morant bought a house in Miami. Fans immediately jumped on that detail as proof the deal is done. Real estate doesn't guarantee a trade players buy property everywhere, but the timing is definitely suspicious. Still, Memphis holds the leverage. They control the contract and the timeline. They can afford to wait. There is no pressure to trade him right now. If they hate the current offers, they can revisit the market in the summer when more teams have money. Miami is walking a fine line here. They want Morant, but they won't overpay. He is the consolation prize if Giannis falls through. They are betting his value stays low, and Memphis capitulates. Whether that bet pays off determines if Morant wears a Heat jersey this year. Now for the financial gymnastics. Acquiring 2 superstars without trading away 2 all-star caliber players requires creativity that tests the limits of the salary cap rules. The Heat strategy leans on expiring contracts, young assets, and multi-team deals. The math has to be perfect. The CBA has to allow it, and the other teams have to say yes. All the stars must align for this vision to work. The strategy hinges on keeping Adebayo, who makes $52 million next season, and Powell, who is averaging 21.8 points per game and looks like a borderline all-star. Miami views these two as untouchable. Adebayo brings elite defense and playmaking at center. Powell brings the scoring punch and veteran savvy. Pair them with Giannis and Morant, and you have a core that competes for championships on day one. The framework involves key contracts. Terry Rozier is on an expiring deal that works for salary matching. Andrew Wiggins has a $30,200,000 player option that Miami apparently controls in this scenario. Simone Fontecchio adds more salary matching power. These expiring contracts are the main chips because they offer the receiving teams immediate financial relief. A hypothetical offer for Antetokounmpo includes Tyler Herro, Rozier, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, 2 firsts, and 3 swaps. That package strips Miami of almost all their young talent and draft assets. Herro is the headliner here. Ware shows promise as a young big, Jaquez is a versatile wing, and Jovic offers point guard depth.
But the Miami offer, which has young players and a couple of draft picks in it, they could take that offer, and especially if Giannis wants to do it. But it really comes down to why would they trade him if they don't have to trade him?
Milwaukee has all the leverage. They don't need to move Giannis before the deadline. They can wait until the summer when the bidding war expands. They can demand a Godfather offer. Miami has to convince the Bucks that their package is the best one available right now. Maybe they take back Giannis Antetokounmpo to match salaries, leaving a lineup of Davion, Mitchell, Powell, Wiggins, Giannis, and Adebayo. That starting five offers some wild combinations. Giannis and Adebayo frontcourt is defensively dominant. Powell stretches the floor, Mitchell runs the point, and Wiggins handles wing defense and scoring. Regarding the Morant trade, Miami's offer is much lighter. It centers on the expiring deals of Rozier and Fontecchio with minimal draft picks. The Heat are betting Memphis takes less because the market is dry. They are exploiting Morant's depressed value and capitalizing on the Grizzlies' desperation to hoard assets during a rebuild. Bringing in a third or fourth team could help flip Wiggins for more picks to sweeten the Giannis deal, or help Miami dodge the tax. Multi-team trades open up options that simple two-team swaps can't offer. A team looking for specific players might trade future assets for current ones. The combinations multiply with every team you add. The combined salaries next season could hit $155.2 million. That number blows past every luxury tax threshold. Miami would face massive penalties, and the repeater tax would compound the costs. Owner Mickey Arison would have to sign off on historic spending. The financial commitment goes beyond this season, but the pros are obvious. You form a top-tier core with Antetokounmpo, who is averaging 28 points and 10 rebounds. You add Morant's dynamic play, Adebayo's defense, and Powell's scoring, and you have a legitimate title contender. The East is wide open. No team is the clear favorite. A Heat squad with this roster enters the conversation immediately. The cons are terrifying, though. You are in cap hell, you have no depth, and you have traded away your future. If injuries hit, the Heat have zero backup plan. If the chemistry fails, Miami's screwed because they already shipped off the assets needed to pivot. If Giannis or Morant walk in free agency, the Heat are left holding the bag with zero draft capital to show for it. But Pat Riley's been here before. He knows how to architect a super team. He ignores luxury tax lines and takes gambles that make other GMs sweat. That track record gives Miami major street cred when they chase the big fish. The rest of the league knows the Godfather usually finds a way to get the deal done. The issue isn't the starting five, it's the bench depth. Miami would have to scour the bargain bin for buyouts or guys like Myron Gardner. Usually, the ring-chasing vets on minimum deals don't show up until the buzzer sounds. Capped-out teams live and die by that buyout market, and it's a total crapshoot. Some guys contribute, others vanish when the playoffs start. To a lot of people, the financial gymnastics needed to land both stars just sound like a fairy tale. Critics are calling it a pipe dream or just the usual annual Miami noise. We hear these rumors every single deadline. Most of it is just smoke. There is a massive canyon between Twitter speculation and actually closing a deal. Others think it's possible just because it's Riley. The Heat have pulled a rabbit out of the hat before. They brought LeBron and Bosh to South Beach. They found loopholes in the cap that everyone else thought were dead ends. Historically, betting against Pat Riley is a quick way to lose money. But let's look at the roadblocks. There are massive hurdles standing between Miami and this fantasy double acquisition. Bidding wars are coming, and rivals might outspend the Heat for Giannis. Memphis could play hardball with Morant and drag this past the deadline. Plus, the salary cap handcuffs Miami, and rival GMs aren't exactly lining up to help them build a contender.
Bobby, if the Warriors and Milwaukee Bucks are to strike a deal here, would Draymond Green need to be in it?
He would, unless you're going to include Jimmy Butler here. And it's really as complex as the CBA is. It's simple math here. When you're looking at Draymond, who makes close to 26, remember this is a second apron team. They cannot take back more money in a deal here.
The Warriors are the main threat here. They can put a package on the table with Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and 4 first-round picks spanning from 2026 to 2032.
And I said, well, how would you feel if you still here on Thursday? And he goes, God's plan, God's plan.
All right, so Draymond Green ready to accept whatever happens. Jonathan Kuminga hoping to see some action
he'll walk
here.
to Milwaukee.
They want the Greek freak. They are willing to gut the roster and mortgage the future to get him. Steph Curry has maybe 2 elite years left. Golden State wants to maximize that window by grabbing a second alpha who can take over games. Don't sleep on the Timberwolves entering the Giannis sweepstakes. Minnesota can build packages around young talent and draft picks. Anthony Edwards is obviously off limits, but the supporting cast is up for grabs. The Wolves want to pair Giannis with Edwards to create a 2-man dynasty for the next decade. Now, Miami being in the East is a double-edged sword. The road to the finals is definitely smoother on that side of the bracket. You have Cleveland, Boston, and New York, but they aren't unbeatable. The problem is, The Western Conference teams can offer trade packages that look a lot sweeter on paper. The Knicks are throwing veteran-heavy offers at the wall for Giannis. New York has the assets and the draft capital. They have the young legs and the expiring contract. Plus, the Madison Square Garden spotlight is a huge draw for stars who want fame. If Miami's offer doesn't satisfy Milwaukee, New York could swoop in as a dark horse. The pressure is ramping up by the hour. These massive trades aren't things you can throw together on a napkin. You need lawyers scrubbing the contract language. Medical records have to be swapped. The money has to match the CBA rules perfectly. When you add a third or fourth team to the mix, the logistics become a nightmare. Giannis hasn't officially demanded a trade yet. He's made it clear he's ready to move on, hinting that his time is up, but he hasn't dropped the ultimatum hammer. That gives Milwaukee leverage to stall. The Bucks can drag this out until summer to drive up the price. If these deals fall through, Miami might just pivot to smaller moves or stay put. They created some financial wiggle room last offseason with the Powell move for a reason. They could just run it back and try to make noise in a weak Eastern Conference. They could tinker around the edges at the deadline without chasing superstars. It's not a sexy backup plan, but it's safe. The Heat culture pitch and their history of fixing guys like Morant is a real selling point. Players know the deal. The organization grinds you down, demands accountability, and creates an environment where talent hits its ceiling. That reputation pulls in the competitors and scares off the coasters. But cap mechanics and rival bids could blow up Miami's plans. The new CBA creates hard boundaries that even creativity can't solve. If you're a second apron team, you are handcuffed. The salary matching has to be exact. It doesn't matter how bad you want the deal. The math has to work, and the rules have to allow it. The landscape changes every 10 minutes during deadline week. New intel drops every hour. Packages evolve. Teams rethink their leverage. What looks like a done deal at noon is dead by dinner. What looks impossible in the morning happens right at midnight. Brian Windhorst and Shams Charania have Miami on the shortlist for Giannis. But pulling off a double acquisition, that's seen as a Hail Mary that would break the league. You have to respect the ambition, though. Most franchises wouldn't even dare to try landing two superstars without gutting their core. Miami's willingness to chase the impossible shows they still view themselves as an elite destination that can will championships into existence. The next few days are do or die. Either Miami pulls off the heist of the century, or they're sticking with this roster and planning for vacation. That gap between glory and nothing is what makes deadline day so addictive. So, picture this. If the Heat somehow land Giannis and Ja without sacrificing Bam, does that team instantly break the NBA's balance of power? Sound off with your thoughts in the comments. And for more deep dives like this, smash that card on your screen.